Hello, thank you for clicking on this video. My name is Michael Reed. I'm an Arkansas State University student for the class Child Growth. This video will be going over the observations that we did for the Child Growth class. What we had to do is that we had to go through kindergarten through 6th grade and then special needs student, or not student, special needs school, and do an hour observation in each class. For kindergarten through 2nd grade, we did Pinewood. Or I did Pinewood Elementary in Jacksonville. Then next we did, or I did, I'm sorry, grades 3 through 5 at Tolleson Elementary. Next I did 6th grade in Jacksonville Middle School. That's at the new Northwood Middle School, but still Jacksonville. And then lastly I did the Pathfinders Academy. Alright, so for kindergarten, I'm just going to go from kindergarten to all the way to the Pathfinders. Kindergarten, I had a teacher named Miss Hayes. Just to make this kind of short and sweet, I'm gonna give my grow and glow, but I'm gonna say like, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's what they need to work on. Okay. Well, it was a kind of loud class, but that's obviously gonna be loud. It's a kindergarten class, and it was kind of unorganized because each little see, it was like in a little center. Like, you had 3 desks over here, 3 more, 3 more. It was like all over the place. And then it was like you need to go work on this one thing. So each student was working on one thing, but they were like just jumping around from each different table, and the teacher constantly had to do this 1, 2, 3, and then all the students would say all eyes on me, and then they would go back to their original seat. But she had a little bit more classroom management that would have been good, but so far she's been a really good teacher. She did have a loud voice though, like it was just really loud in the classroom, and it was a closed classroom. In kindergarten and 1st grade, it's in a closed part of the school, so you don't have to worry about all this different noise from all the other classrooms. Next we have 1st grade Miss Eubanks. This is the first time I ever met Miss Eubanks in Pinewood Elementary. When I first met her, she was my first observation that I had to go do. And when she finally met all her students that was just coming in from, like, early recess, like they do early recess, then the classroom, then another, like, lunch, and then recess again, and then class again. That's how they do it. She was like, by the end of this time, I want him to be a 1st grade teacher. Or I want him to say, I want to be a 1st grade teacher. So, she showed me the this program that the whole school uses. It's called the dojo thing. Not like a karate thing, but it's a website that parents and teachers and the students would use at the same time. And what it does is that they get a point if they're good, or they lose a point if they're bad. The students can like make up their own monster. That's what they did in her class. They made her own little monster. Um, but the one thing I kind of no, I don't really have anything bad to say about that actually. Uh, I will say that in the kindergarten, 1st grade, there's a lot of tattletales, and you're obviously gonna get that all the time. There's no change. Like, you're just gonna get that, but they work on it. Like, what I tell you about tattling? And it's like the students would just make stuff up too, like, oh, he hit me, or she pulled my hair, all that good stuff. Even though you want to make sure that they don't do that, but sometimes you do have to have that eye, like in the back of your head, just find out. Okay, next we have Miss Brown's class for 2nd grade. She was going over math and language arts, and that's how so far what they all have been doing in Pinewood, just math and speech. This one didn't have any titles. When I first walked in, they were just finishing with their not social studies, their language arts part of the day, and then they were working on math. What they had to do is that they had to find another way to make 50 cents out of either the dimes, the nickels. You can't use quarters, I don't think, because she already used 2 quarters, and you had to like tape the thing on the back. This one didn't have any tattles, so I was like, oh my goodness, they finally fixed it. And there was only one person that tried to say, this guy did it, but the teacher already knew it because she saw it. So there's like no tattling. But I thought that was pretty neat how they didn't have to tattle anymore. Next we have third grade, and this is at Tolleson now. Third grade, Miss Green. I believe it did go in order when I went over there, third, fourth, fifth. That or might have went fourth, third, fifth. But I'm just gonna go from lowest to highest grade here. Third grade, Miss Green. She was already introducing division in the classroom. She wasn't like, let's all pull out our math homework and we're gonna go over this division. It's gonna be this divided by this. It was just basic like what is like 7 add the little house 14. Uh, well, she wasn't really necessarily doing it. That's how I instantly did it because I was following with them just so the students wouldn't be like, "Oh, he's not doing it." I was just going with it, and I was like, "Do." Okay, it's 2. Uh, but she kind of did like an array model. She was like, "Okay, but you know multiplication. So what is 7 times 2? Or like 14." She's like, "Do you think 7 goes in 2 times to make 14?" They're like, "Yeah, that's division." That's how she did it. Um, she. Oh, wanna write down here. Um, when I first walked in, they were doing a weird exercise, and this is what I didn't like. They're doing an exercise on the video where it was like they had to do like little run around stuff, like do this with your arms, and then it instantly went to like, okay, let's be calm, move your arms up, move your arms down, breathe in, breathe out, and I just thought that was the weirdest thing. Cause they just came in from like early recess. Like this, I think this is what both of them did because they're already like wore out from recess. They already got their morning jitters over with. So I don't think it was really necessary to have the video going after they've just done it. You could have done that for something else, like maybe a bell ringer, something like that. But so far, I really like that class. She mostly talked about herself, other than the class when I was there. So I'll say that as this is what she needs to work on. For my fourth grade class, still in Tolleson, this is Miss Mac. They're just gonna go over spelling and reading. It was mostly like, okay, you need details. Like, this is the main plot. Like, this is what's really going on. Like, this person likes shopping, or they went to the store for this reason. But like she only worked with them in groups. Like this shit, they already had like this worksheet over the same questions that they were just gonna go over with the teacher in the end. But so like what the students could already do is that they can either actually work on it or they can just wait until they're with the teacher and get the answers. Even though the teacher would go with them and was like, okay, why is this? Like, what's the details for? And it's like we can't just say this is why or this is what's happening. They need to say like this is happening because they like, and that's the answer. But they need to. It's just explaining stuff to them. Next we have fifth grade Miss McDonald, still in Miss Tolleson. This is more like a study hall because the students switch classes like 3 times within the same half hour, and I was just like, why did they switch classes so many times? Like I took a break at that point because I was like, I can't stick with the same teacher if they're just gonna be switching over from this grade to this grade. So after my little 30-minute break, she was mostly with fifth graders, but there were some fourth graders that needed the study hall. But they also went over the reading. I do have the worksheet with me. I'm probably put it in the observation notebook. Like I'll just leave it as its own little file of like here's the worksheets that they gave me, and it's already written down like which grade has it. But like for that, it was mostly like introducing. It's like you'll find questions that say explain. So what are you gonna do if it asks you to explain? Like you know the answer, but why? So why do you have to do that? Is this true or false? Why? All that good stuff. Because like they read a passage, then it's the questions. Well, really, they need to be. I think she should have showed like you need to read the questions and then you do the the story and then you answer them so you know what to look for. Um, but I don't think that was their main goal at that point. I'm still not sure. It was mostly just a study hall. Next, we have Jacksonville Middle School. I used to go to Jacksonville Middle School, but they changed buildings on me. I was lost when I first went there because there was no one at the original school. But they told me they're at the Northwood Middle School building, but they're still Jacksonville. Uh, but when I first went there, it was a very violent school. Nobody would uh, stop the fights. It would be like just fend for yourself, and when you do, they're like, "Why'd you hit him?" Like, because he was joking me up against the wall, and you didn't do anything about it. So it wasn't a very good school when I went there as a student, and I only went there for 9 weeks, and they like tried arguing with us. We need the numbers because this and that, but we're not gonna go into that. Unless you really want to, then you need to email me. Uh, for 6th grade, I had Miss Zubar at Jacksonville Middle School. Um, I will say that there was like some little fights here and there. Um, but all she really did was just throw up the DMP, which is Discipline Management Plan, and all they really do is just sign something. And at a certain point, they either go to the principal or they go talk to their parents on the phone, or the parents come over to the school and explain why their student's gonna have out of school suspension. Like, it just gets to the point. Like, you got 3 DMPs. Okay, next one you're gonna go to principal. Next one you're gonna talk to your parents on the phone. Next time you're gonna talk to your parents in the office and explain why you're suspended. Stuff like that. But she was going over science and tectonic plates. I also have a worksheet on this. What you had to do is that you just had to color, then you need to cut it out, and then you need to glue it on a sheet of paper. It's like a puzzle. It's like everything fits, like the tectonic plates, even though they move around, which is what she was trying to explain. Like, yes, they do move around, but they do have its place. You know, it's like, why do earthquakes happen? What causes earthquakes? Um, More stuff, and it even kind of shows like how volcanoes form. It's in the same lesson plan, I believe. Um, I wasn't really into the class. Like, she was like, "Go ahead and talk to the students," and I was like, I can't talk to the students. They need to work." Um, it's like, unless they ask me about my own personal life, then I can answer for them, but I can't help them with the lesson. But yeah, some fights here and there. DMP. I'm actually gonna backtrack a little bit on the 5th grade class, Miss McDonald. I forgot to say that there is like these 2 students that were really fighting it at one point. This tiny little girl, like I swear she was in the 4th grade or maybe even 3rd grade class. Uh, and she threw her whole entire backpack at this one dude, and they had to send him to the office because by the time I finally got to see him again, he had a huge bruise on his face because a book was in the book bag. It's like this huge textbooks, and it didn't really help. But that got thrown in his face, so that happened. But both schools need to work on their little fighting issue. I'm surprised that Jacksonville still has this issue, even though they're trying their best. Like, I saw so much security, so much video security. Like, if you go into the office, you'll see like um, for 12 different cameras on the TV, but then they switch cameras every once in a while. So it's like they have more than 12 cameras in just one hallway. But next class, went to Pathfinders Academy. This isn't like the Pathfinders I went to when I observed like the kindergarten class or pre-kindergarten class. This is mostly like these are 6th, 7th, and 8th graders by the time they're this age. Well, not really. I'll explain that later. They were a really small school. Like, it's just a little building off to the side, right by the real school. But it wasn't big. There was about 8 to maybe 10 students total, and there's 2 teachers, but it was mostly just one. Like, this teacher would help them like with what really needs to be worked on, while the teacher was going with the lesson plan, and she would know, okay, which one needs the most help. I will say that all the students in there were autistic, but they weren't. That's a lie. I would say that they were at that point where they were kind of off, but they were able to just grab them back and be like, okay, do this. And what I mostly saw was like, write your name, but they had to write it like 10 times, and they would have to erase it all completely at some points, and then try it again. Just go over and over and over. And some of them had like confusing names, like they're not just basic names you would hear every day. It's like you kind of need to know already how to spell it just to help them spell it or write it. But the class was mixed from 13 to 21 years old. That's the latest they can have them is 21 years of age. But they start out with 12 years of age, but there wasn't a 12-year-old there. There was a 13 youngest, I believe. But because of that, sometimes they would have to separate them. Not because like anything bad was happening. They were just having to separate them here and now, which is my critique here. Like they told me their main goal is to get them to where they know basic math, where they can like count money, how to take care of themselves, get ready for the real world because it's coming. And then just math and language and speech stuff. But then they would like separate them for like one little thing, like physical therapy. They could all just like be going outside at one point, and then it could just be one person trying to walk on a straight line on a beam, which I saw when I was on my way out of school. So that's my critiques. Like you can't just say that your whole goal is to make them social, but then you separate them, work on them individually. It's like that's not how it works. You need to work together. But that was my observations. My worksheets, I'll scan them at the very end, and I'll make it its own separate attachment when I send it. Like it won't be like attachment 1, 2, or 3 because I know I'm gonna have to scan it like 3 different times this time because my scanner still not working. We've been messing with it. We even took it apart to put it back together again, like 2 times because it came in fixed, but then it was all weird. Excuses, I know, but it happens. So I'm gonna go to the library, see if they can scan it for me, and get it to you before it's extremely late. Probably like tomorrow latest. But thank you so much. Worksheets separate attachment with everything. It'll even say worksheets for you. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.